Greetings, hello, and welcome everyone to Age of Empires 4 on the PS5. Yet again, another Age of Empires game is making its way to PlayStation consoles. First we had AoE 2, then Age of Mythology Retold, and now my favorite one, Age of Empires 4. It's launching on PS5, I believe, the day I'm recording this, November 4th, is when it comes out, alongside the new DLC Dynasties of the East. I want to give a special shout out to World's Edge and Microsoft for providing me a code here to show you all how the game works. I'll be doing a couple of videos of AoE 4 on PS5, kind of how the game performs, how to control the game using a controller, and then finally how to use the game with a mouse and keyboard as well. It is cross-play compatible, so if you have friends on Xbox or PC or Steam or wherever else, you all can play together. And let's go ahead and dive in here. So the way that AoE 4 works for a controller, they have actually done a pretty good job. There's some magnetism at play that'll help you kind of select your units. The point of the game is you want to build your economy up so you can build your military up. The dynamics and ways of win conditions that you can actually win in AoE 4 is different than Age of Empires 2. Most of the time you're going to win by destroying someone's landmarks. You need a landmark to age up each and every time. You start out with what's called your landmark town center here. When you press X on it, it's going to say, you can see in the bottom left, economy, population building, landmark. Any other town centers you build will not be landmarks. So let's go ahead and get started on how to control units and how the controller kind of works here. R2 is going to be your friend really throughout the game here. You can select R2 without selecting units, R2 when you do select units, and then R2 when you select a building. You can do so by tapping X to select units and buildings and anything else. You're going to get a scout to open up the game. In AoE 2 and in Age of Mythology Retold, there actually is an auto scout option where your scout will kind of just run around and discover new lands and features along the map. I don't see that in this game for AoE 4, so you can just kind of press X to send your scout. I actually kind of think manually moving your scout is a little bit better regardless. And you can queue up movements. Let's say you want to have your scout run around the edges of the map. Just press X, and then while you're holding L2, you can tap X again. You can kind of see this line here, and each of the flag points are commands that I've told my scout to do. So he's going to actually do all of those in order to kind of reveal things of the map. In AoE 4, what you're going to want to do opening up the game is find a lot of sheep. The sheep are, you get 200 food for each herdable sheep. They're going to actually run and follow the scout. It's actually cool with this update. They made different color sheep for forever. It was only the sheep were white, and then like a cloak around it would be the color of your team. So that's actually kind of cool. Anyway, when you bring them back towards your town center here, your villagers can harvest that food. And at the beginning of the game, that's actually one of the fastest ways to get food. There's different speeds in which your units will be acquiring resources, and sheep early on is one of the best ways to do it. Now, in Age of Empires 4, you're actually going to be winning the game by building villagers. You can build villagers by pressing X on your town center, and then while holding R2, you move up with the analog stick, and then just press X to be training villagers. You can, by the way, it says queue 5 units by holding L2. So you're actually going to be holding both L2 and R2, and then press X. It'll go ahead and queue up what is that, 5 villagers there. You can press X somewhere from your town center. It'll be highlighted blue when you select a resource. What that means is your villagers, when they get trained and move around the map, if you have it on a resource, they're going to automatically start getting those resources that you've selected. So whether that's a tree here for wood, a gold pile for gold, so on and so forth. That's kind of the way that you would go about getting resources. That's one of the most effective ways, is sending your villagers to a resource. The game is complaining that I've reached my population capacity, and to expand that, we want to build more houses. You can do so by selecting some villagers, one or multiple, and you can hold R2 and then select a house and press X, and that'll pull up a house here. You can also kind of do a shortcut the game's telling you on the bottom left here. Just press square. If you hold it, you'll pull up a house, and now you can automatically press X to plop that house. Now, you can actually queue that up as well. If I hold down L2 while holding down square, it'll ask me, hey, do you want to build more houses? And I'll say, yeah, well, yes, I do. I do want to build some more houses. That'll allow my villagers to do this task immediately and not have to, like, go off and do another resource and come back. It could be a little bit more efficient for your resources. Just keep an eye on your resources on how you're spending them. And, you know, you can kind of go from there. If you think that managing your own economy is a little bit too complicated, AoE 4 does not hold your hand strongly enough, at least from my initial view here, of how the controller setup is compared to AoE 2. Because AoE 2 does have, like, auto-villager queue, and I think AOM does as well. Actually, I know AOM does. You can do what's called villager priorities. That's what this pie chart is at the top center, kind of towards the right a little bit there. It says R2, then clicking, or I'm sorry, L2, then clicking in R3. It's going to pull up this radial menu of pie charts. And what this does is you're going to select some sort of resource gathering preset here, and your villagers are going to automatically go to tasks that are relevant to those resources. So for here, food and gold, that's your age up. If I press that, if you give it a second, villagers will automatically stop what they're doing and go somewhere else to start getting those resources. And as you train new villagers, let's say I queue up some there, as soon as they're done coming out of that town center, they're going to actually go to a job that is getting those resources that you've selected. The only downside, AoE 2 does this, so does AOM, and it looks like AoE 4 kind of continues this, is there do not build drop-off points to these resources. You see how these villagers are running all the way to this gold pile and then all the way back? The time that they are traveling to drop off that resource is essentially wasted time. They're not gathering the resource. They're not giving it to your buildings. They're just simply going from one location to another. You can dramatically improve their efficiency by building a drop-off point. Select some villagers. These, we need a mining camp to be right next to the gold pile. Let these villagers build this mining camp here. And now, instead of going all the way to the town center and back, they'll just drop it off right here at this mining camp, allowing them to go back to work faster. And actually, he may turn around. No, he doesn't. And you'll see now they're dropping this off right here. Now they can go back to work much, much faster. Now, I do have the amount of food to age up here, and you can kind of see the age 1 icon is kind of highlighted. It's different in AoE 4 compared to AoE 2, how you age up. You actually need to build a landmark. So you see the 1 age icon is kind of spinning, and it's highlighted. That's letting me know that I have enough resources to age up. It's different in AoE 4 compared to AOM and AoE 2. In those games, you're just going to select an upgrade from your town center and train it. But in Age of Empires 4, you actually, for most civs, it depends on the civ that you pick, but I'm playing as French here. For most civs, you're actually going to want to pick a tech-up building. And so in order to do that, you need to select some villagers and then have them build that building. In order to do that, once you have your villagers selected on what you want to do, hold R2. And you see on your D-pad here, economy, military, defensive. That's just actually how you're changing the types of buildings that you want to build here. I actually want to age up, so I'm going to press up on the D-pad. And you can see here, it's going to allow me to request what kind of building I want. Do I want a military landmark or an economy landmark? You're going to probably memorize these as time goes on. However, for the sake of this video, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go School of Cav, select that. Here's the building. Now we can kind of drop this wherever we want, and then press X. My villagers will start building it. Now, once they're done, they're going to go back to that task. You can kind of see the villager priorities taking over, and some of these villagers going for gold are now going to the deer pile here. You can also kind of pivot around using the D-pad to go back to your town center. So down, about how you'll be going back to your town center. If I press down again, it's actually going to go to my School of Cav because that's my next landmark. If you have villagers that you want to kind of select that are idle, you can press up and hold it on the D-pad. And then if you have idle military, you can press left on the D-pad or hold all left to select all of your military units, I believe. We'll confirm that here in just a second. So now we have our School of Cav. We can kind of now begin to play around on what kind of units we want to make. There are some shortcuts that the game is offering. When I select the School of Cav, you can see triangle at the bottom left will be making a horseman, and then square is actually an upgrade. The green icon there is an upgrade. If we want to look a little bit further, we can press and hold R2 while we're looking at the building here. So you can see there's the horseman. Costs 100, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the upgrade there. 100 food, 20 wood, and it takes 19 seconds to train. Now, while we're up here, you can kind of see to the right, there is square to upgrade your horseman to veteran horseman, but we require castle age, which is age 3. The gist of playing French are these royal knights. This is kind of the whole thing that makes them so awesome. You can press X to queue up one knight, and you can see he's training there. And there's also a little bar you can see below the hit points of the building. That's going to show the progress of those knights. I can press X to set a rally point for where those knights are going to go to when they finish training. And we'll see here in just a second when that knight happens. There's also a quick find menu. When you press L1 without selecting anything, you can press X to go to up here for military production buildings, land military units. That's how you'll select all of your land military units. You can see I just selected my knight and my scout. Or you can find things like research buildings. You can also go down to your town center here. And then you can also use your D-pad to go to different types of buildings. So these are kind of all the various buildings that are offered for your civ, naval, different kinds of units, all of your villagers, non-siege land military. That's actually really important. All land military, cav units, ranged, melee, siege, religious, traders. If you're playing in RTS for the first time, this could be quite overwhelming, and understandably so. There's a lot of menus and radials and things like that. However, this is actually really powerful stuff. You might just think, well, let me just select all units for this, that, and the other. However, being able to instantly select subsets of your units like this through a quick find with just a couple of actions is, again, quite powerful. And I encourage you to kind of find out what works best for you and utilize it to your advantage. Now that we have some units, we can kind of play around with how we want to have our units move around and interact for the sake of learning for the first time. For military units, and really for almost any unit in that matter that has some sort of attack damage, there are two types of movements you can make. One is called the regular movements, which I've been explaining this entire game, which is just by pressing X. You press X and your units are going to move, and like how I explained earlier, by holding L2 and X, you can queue up movements. However, there's a different kind of movements, and that's called attack moving. Attack moving means that your units are going to move to a particular direction that you have set, just like a regular move. However, if they find an enemy unit along that way, they will actually go and attack them. And I'll try to find an example here by going to my my opponent. So you can see that he's training a couple of military buildings here. I could press X right here and start attacking him. However, maybe I want to see what kind of other units I can attack along the way. So if I just kind of want to run around here, I'll just press X and my units will not attack these buildings. However, if I press square and attack move, see how my units immediately started attacking this blacksmith here? That's because along the path of this moving, I did an attack move. So therefore, they are going to attack that building. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you too much with information in this particular introduction video. So I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. I think my key takeaways is for AoE 4, if you're playing it for the first time, it is going to be overwhelming at first with all of the radio menus and how to use your villagers and your economy. Just stick with it with the tutorials and learning how all of these menus work within each other. It'll be quite helpful for you as you get into, say, more campaign missions and even PvP. The game is thoroughly awesome, and it is a blast to play. And I think once everything clicks, you will greatly enjoy your experience. That's going to probably do it here. I'm going to do follow-up videos regarding how AoE 4 works with a mouse and keyboard on PS5, as well as a more advanced tutorial for the controller, using things such as control groups, selecting units, building proxies, things like that. That'll be up in a following video. If you don't want to wait till that comes out for PS5, I have made comparable videos on the Xbox version already, which I will link down below. And if this is your first time on the channel, well, we love Halo Wars and Age of Empires 4. I almost said Age of Mythology there. We love that too. But we'll see a ton of gameplay of AoE 4 on the channel. That's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you, James.